In 2024, families are spending on average $15,000 a year or more on childcare, and that is for one child to attend daycare for a calendar year. And I know where I live in Massachusetts, it's much more than that. It's about $20,000 per year on average. And so this cost to families is huge. And as we know, our country has a childcare crisis right now. There is lack of affordable childcare, but also it's not accessible. You can't find it, right? Families are sitting on wait lists for 1-2 years. And so this is a huge part of the conversation right now, especially for millennials. But something we don't focus on is what happens after kids enter public school age. Because there's this conversation about when they're little, when they're infants and toddlers, and the astronomical cost associated with that. But oftentimes we ignore what happens when they enter the public school, because while the cost is much less, it is still there. And for families that are dual income homes, they do still require care for these children. And we don't often talk about what that care looks like. For some families, that means after school care. For some families, it's before school care. Then there's camps for the summer times or school breaks. There are costs that add up throughout the year. I know where I live, on average, you're spending anywhere between $500 to $1,000 a month on after school care. That is still a huge cost to families. Camp is anywhere between $350 a week to $500+ a week for the summer, right? And so you're spending $3,000 to $6,000 per child for the summer for them to go to camp. And this is impacting families in a major way. I think care.com said it's 24% of families' annual income is going to childcare. And when we think about childcare, we often just focus on the little kids, but this is something that is extending well into the elementary school years. And so I just want people to remember that childcare does not just impact parents of small children. It's impacting parents of widespread age groups, right? And it is something that so many are grappling with. And there could be solutions to this crisis. There is work that can be done to support families, to support children, which would then support our economy, which is the most mind-boggling part of it, which is oftentimes people see this as an individual issue, when in reality, it is a societal issue that we should all be talking about much more. I think a missing part of the conversation too is what it looks like to have school age kids and why families need this kind of care. Because even if you have a flexible job, even if you could have a part-time job, you still need care because school schedules are constantly changing, right? This week, my kids have 2 half days. Next week, they have 2 half days, but they're different than this week. 2 weeks from now, they have a whole week of school that is off in April, right? And every town and every state, they have different days that their kids are in school or out of school or having half days. And so it's really difficult for families to coordinate around. There's not always accessible childcare to take care of those kids. So families are using PTO, sick time, relying on family, or relying on these after school programs to help supplement the care that they need. And so when we think about childcare in the context of kids, we also need to think about what happens when they get to school. What happens when they're school age, when they're 5, 6, 7, even 8 or 9, right? Back in the day, I think at least when I was a kid at that age, I was home alone at 10 years old with my siblings who were as young as 6. That does not happen these days, and nor should it. Like, I agree, but it means that families are grappling with the cost and just trying to piece together care for their kids to make it work.